Bienvenidos sean todos al segundo día del Foro Latinoamericano de Emprendimiento Espacial. Espero no haberlos hecho esperar demasiado, pero tenemos una agenda cargada de contenido y una vez más con personas de talla global. Hoy, más que ayer, vamos a emprender un poco más en las experiencias de nuestros colaboradores, ya que ayer fue un poco más de comentar un poco de los productos, acerca de la información que tenemos todo a nuestra disposición, pero hoy más que nada queremos arrancar un poco con las experiencias, con gente que ya actuó y poder nutrirnos un poco con ese conocimiento, ¿les parece? Pero antes que nada, queremos agradecer a nuestros patrocinadores y aliados, a Skywatch, a Coworks, a Aeroterra y por supuesto a Astronomía Paraguay. Desde ya, muchísimas gracias a todos y a nuestros participantes. Les comento de que este foro es por y para ustedes y de alguna u otra forma queremos agradecerles y por eso estamos sorteando un telescopio Celestron, así que no olviden participar. Las bases y condiciones están en la publicación de nuestro Instagram de Space Latam, así que por favor no olviden registrarse, ya que todos tenemos derecho a mirar el cielo, a poder entrar un poco en este mundo de la astronomía. El mundo y el cielo es tuyo, es nuestro, es de todos. Así como dijimos ayer en el panel, la diversidad y la colaboración es lo que nos une y puede hacer una obra sencilla en una obra fantástica. Y este foro, como no puede ser de otra manera, es inclusivo y el día de hoy nos va a acompañar una presentadora que se llama Sandra Sanabria. Ella va a presentar a Julia, a Cathrin, que viene a continuación, así que te doy la bienvenida, Sandra, a ver cómo estás.
Muy buenos días, Diego. Muchísimas gracias por el honor de poder presentarle acá a Julia y a otros de nuestros presentadores, que de verdad son inspiradores.
No, en serio, totalmente de acuerdo contigo. Los perfiles que tenemos a continuación son maravillosos. Las obras de Cathrin, ella nos va a comentar un poco más, pero te dejo entonces a tu cargo, ya que es una experiencia que estoy seguro que ni vos ni los participantes se van a poder olvidar en mucho tiempo. Así que me despido y chao.
Gracias, Diego. So, okay, everyone, I'm really pleased to introduce you to Cathrin Machin. She's one of Australia's worldwide best artists. She has a trajectory in the video game field. She was there for over 10 years. She's a former mechanical engineer, and right now she's an artist. We really want to know how that transition happened. How did she become an artist? She was like very popular. She was leading the video game field. She was very successful, and then she suddenly, well, we don't know. We're gonna know if she suddenly decided to become an artist, and how it was to lead the world's highest crowd-funded solo exhibition in Sydney. Welcome, Kat.
Hi, glad to see you, Sandra, and hey, welcome everybody.
Hi, Kat. I know we were talking earlier this morning, but I have to confess that every time I see your pictures and your paintings, I just go crazy. I enter a flow mental state.
I love that. Thank you so much. It's so kind.
So, I know this is a little bit unusual. Like, you were a mechanical engineer, you were very successful in your field. You even got awarded as Best Australia Video Game in 2015. But then you decided to switch field and became an artist. Could you tell us a little bit more about that transition? What happened? What led you to make that decision?
Of course. Look, it's kind of similar to what I said before. We all, as adults, get to a point in our life where we look at what we do on a day-to-day basis and say, is this all that's meant to be for me? And I think a lot of us are doing jobs and working in fields that aren't fully fulfilling. For me, I felt like I made video games, which is a lot of fun and very entertaining, but I just felt like I was creating distractions for people, that I wasn't doing something that made the world better. I felt like I just wanted to do more with my life, but also I was under extreme stress. I know a lot of people have this feeling, but I was working incredible hours, 14 to 12 to 14 hours a day, 7 days a week for 3 months straight. And I just burnt out. And I know a lot of people are feeling very burnt out with their lives. And I was never home. I was always at work. I sometimes slept under my desk. And I just in order to get the project finished, because, you know, you have intense deadlines in the games industry. And I couldn't do it anymore. So once we finished the game, we won an award, but they were like, that was for a Steam PC game. And they said they were going to move on to the mobile. I was like, nope, I'm out. I was like, flip the tables, but I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what was going to be for me after. And that's really the starting point of my adventure. But what I realize now is that if you want to have a job in something that you love, for me it was space, but for you it might be something else. You don't have to wait until you hit breaking point to make that decision. You could make that decision today.
Well, so you said, okay, you knew that you weren't interested in making video games anymore, but how did you find that passion? How did you come across being, okay, I want to paint the outer space?
I've always been interested in, galactic and cosmic things. One of the things that people ask me all the time is like, how do I find my personal purpose? My purpose that I wake up for every day is to help people see the stars, because we have this global problem with light pollution, right? You literally can't see the stars. 99% of the people in America, Southern and Northern America, and 99% of people in Europe can't see the stars because of light pollution. And that's really heartbreaking. And I always say to people, when you're trying to find your passion, go back to the thing when you were 7 years old that you just loved. That age between like 5 and 10, when you had no inhibitions, like you didn't have to do you only did things because you liked doing them. Does that make sense? Not because necessarily, you picked those hobbies because you were forced to do them. Whereas an adult, you have to do things to survive. So hopefully you're not in that position as a child. But and I just loved space. And there was, moments of my life when I was just really inspired by how beautiful, and like, honestly, it was the visuals for me that really did it. It was so sparkly and amazing. But then once I learned about it, I learned how big the universe is, how incredible the scenes were, just the sheer magnitude of space. Like when you sit, this is my favorite thing. You'll love this, Sandra. Someone said this and it really hit home, which was, when you look up into the night sky, you're not actually looking up. You're looking down into the abyss of space, only held onto the earth by gravity. And I was just like, wow. I like to think of nighttime almost like a lid on a box. And when it becomes night, the lid comes off and you can see out into this great cosmic ocean. And I guess there was a bit of me that was really excited by that. But, I gave up painting and I didn't really look at space I gave up painting when I was 17. And I really stopped following space as something I loved when I was maybe 12, maybe, because I was trying to like hang out with my friends and be cool or whatever. We all go through those phases, right? But I love it. Actually, it's in my soul and it's the thing that just excites me. But here's the thing, you might find this love later on in life, but I think at that point when I felt like I'd lost everything, there wasn't anywhere else to go apart from, the stuff that I loved. I was like, I've lost everything at this point. I literally felt like I'd spent 10 years in the games industry, going from a junior all the way to an executive producer. I'd done the whole ladder. And I felt like I could never go back into the industry because I was now overqualified for every job position. And I couldn't be the executive producer anymore because it was too much pressure. And I just thought, well, I might as well do what I love. what's the worst that could happen, right? And there we are today. You know, and I think when I was a kid, I was always told, you know, to get a real job, which of course, you know, you have to make sure that you can pay your bills and be, you know, eat and do all those important things. But it never seemed like an option. I always thought, well, I'm destined to fail. But actually, the failure came because I never tried until I had no other option.
Wow. Yes, I think sometimes we're very scary to start and give that first step.
Yeah.
And earlier this morning, you were telling me, okay, maybe you do not to like totally quit your job, but just starting little by little, like maybe 2 hours or 4 hours a week, dedicating time to that passion can really help.
You know what? Here's the interesting thing, right? You don't have to as I said earlier, you don't have to wait until you have a nervous breakdown. Although it does help. It's a great start point. I mean, schedule one in if you can. But if you can't, right, you know, and you don't have to burn yourself to the core and cancel everything and move, you know, you don't need to do that. Actually, what made me a success was the fact that I spent on average about 4 hours every weekend for 8 months. And that is all it took. That was enough to take me from zero, having never, and this is interesting, you know, I'd painted when I was 16, when I was in school, but I'd not done it professionally and I'd never painted properly. Like, you know, I painted stuff that you would do when you're in school. Like, it wasn't what I would consider like high end. And, you know, I didn't know anything about space, but, you know, by being able to be consistent and just a small amount over 8 months was enough to take me to my first campaign. See, what happened is after I left the video games industry, I became a cleaner and I was scrubbing toilets and cleaning people's houses. And obviously that's a really important job, but it certainly was not really what I had planned for my entire life. And whilst it's a good service, you know, I did wonder, like, where am I going with this? I'd gone from becoming a high paid executive to less than minimum wage, only just scraping by. I couldn't really afford to buy anything or do anything. I just didn't know what to do. I was about as lost as you could get. And I tried lots of different things. It's not like space painting was the only thing. I tried lots of different things. And what happened was space paint, I just fell in love with it. The very first painting I made was space because I remembered how much I was into it as a kid. And by putting them online, I just took photos and put them online and I shared it with people. Because here's the thing, we live today in the most incredible moment in time. Right now, you can turn on your phone, on your camera, and, you know, and assuming if you're watching this stream, right, you've got a smart device or something connected to the internet, you can talk to people online for free. It's called Facebook and Instagram. It's called Snapchat. It's called whatever, you know, there's all of these platforms in which you can reach people and share the things that you're passionate about. And what happens when you talk passionately about something that you really, really love is that people that are also passionate come and find you. I didn't know anybody that liked space when I started. I just thought it was cool. You know, I'd seen some TV programs about it. I'd gone and done some stargazing with my family in the UK, which incidentally, it's very light polluted here, and it's always cloudy. It's always raining here. Oh gosh, but it doesn't matter. I was really into it, and you know, little by little, after 5 months, one of my friends suggested, "Hey, why don't you do an exhibition?" And I was like, "Wow, that's a really cool idea." Now, Sandra, you know me. I love partying. Partying is like my life. I like to dance. I like to have a good time. And I was a DJ. And my idea was, hey, let's have a space party. I'll hire a room, fill it with space paintings, get some lecturers from a university for astrophysics. And let's fill it with alcohol and let's have a great party and just get drunk and talk about space. Of course, drink responsibly, everybody. But that was my plan. That was where my whole career started, was that moment where I was like, right, let's do it. I was terrified of starting out. I'd never sold a space painting at this point. Never, not one. And I had to raise money to hire this room and throw this party because, of course, I was 8 months out of a high-paying executive job. And I was like, how do I do it? And I found a website called Kickstarter. It's like a little bit like a GoFundMe, but in return, everybody gets like a print or some artwork or whatever it is, right? So the bigger donation you put in, the bigger the item you get. And it's run over 30 days and you have a funding goal. And the funding goal, if you don't hit it in 30 days, nobody's cards are charged and the project is cancelled. So you have to hit your target. So I set $4,000. And before I clicked launch, I vomited. I was physically sick because I thought no one's going to buy any of these paintings. And mind you, back then I was not that great. I wasn't terrible at painting, but I wouldn't, if most people saw those paintings back at the beginning, most of you would be able to say, hey, I could do that. But I still did it because I wanted to throw this party. But we didn't hit $4,000. And the crazy thing is that I live in a cul-de-sac. So it was like a dead end road. No one but the people that lived there were on that street. And it meant that we had this nice community. And as we would take our like trash bins outside, the neighbors would chat and they'd go like, how do you doing today? And I'd be like, oh, I've hit $10,000. And they were like, wow, that's amazing. And they were like, I think it's going to finish at 20. And then it kept on going up. And they were like 30 and 40 and 50. And then it ended at $70,000 in 30 days for space paintings that I'd never sold before. $70,000. And I remember sitting there and I was crying because I was like, I have been so lost. I didn't know what to do with myself. I'd lost my high-paying executive job. I was scrubbing toilets. And here it is. I have this new job and it is to put space images out into the world. And I said this to you, Sarah, before, but I think that there's a big problem right now is that you can go into the shops, or depending on where you are and what Corona's doing, of course, and you can get things with pictures of flowers and you can get things with images of all sorts of, abstracts and portraits, but you can't find anything that's related to space. If you can, it's super rare, very, very rare. You have to go to specialty shops. You have to go and put all this effort in. It's really hard. So when people come to me and say, oh, is there room for me to do this, for me to take photos of space? And hey, here's a great thing. You don't even need equipment. This is crazy. You can actually use NASA data, European Space Agency data. There are tutorials online showing you how to process it. You can make your own and sell it. And it can become something that creates your life, and you can put it on all sorts of products. But more so, the most important thing is, and what is most important to me, is that I get to put space into people's lives. Every day they can look at this picture and think, the world is so much bigger than this, the stressful world. 2020 has been a year, hey, right? It's been a challenge. Let's just put it there. But, right now out there is a black hole ripping apart a star many times bigger than our sun in almost infinite direction, in infinite distances in every direction. We've got galaxies and nebulae and space and the most violent reactions and stars being formed and powerful supernovae occurring. And it's amazing. Right now it's happening. There are baryons being shot and fired from the sun. And we think that our life is just these four walls, the concrete jungle or the traffic jam or the email inbox that's piling up and all of this life and stress. But actually we are this little speck floating through this great cosmic ocean. And I think sometimes we need a break. And that's why it's nice to look at these pictures of space. It's a reminder there's more going on than, all of the stuff that's happening. So, yeah, I decided that I would start this campaign and it became my job. And I did it, literally created all of that in 8 months. or less than 8 months, over 4 hours every weekend. And I feel like this is something that's achievable for everybody. And if you are in a job, if you're in a job that you are really unhappy with, that you feel like there's more for you, like, go and do it. Like, but you don't have to go all in. Just take it step by step.
So you mentioned that you had stopped painting in high school, and then you became an artist, and you were working like 4 hours a week or every weekend on your paintings. But did you have a mentor? Did you see any tutorials? What materials did you grab to like start building yourself as the artist you are right now?
Do you know what? This is a great question. And I actually started by watching Bob Ross. Have you watched Bob Ross before with the big afro? Right, he's great. He does these oil paintings. They're just landscapes, but they're free online. You can watch YouTube. They're streamed on Twitch. And it's such a great place because, when I was thinking, if we think back 20 years ago, there wasn't resources like YouTube or things where there were just thousands of tutorials for absolutely everything. If you want to build a rocket or if you want to paint a picture, you're pretty much destined to find some tutorial online. And that's what I mean. For me, what I did was I didn't necessarily watch a particular series. I watched a bit of Bob Ross when I started, which he's great. If you have not watched him, you definitely should. It's very soothing and relaxing. But I just Googled specific questions. Can I tell you an interesting story on how I learned how to mix color? So I was going to be painting a picture for SpaceX. It's a big deal. And it was a big painting. It was 4 meters by 2 meters, a huge, huge picture. And we'd agreed to do this. And I realized after we'd, all agreed that it would happen, that I didn't know how to mix colors properly. Like, I could mix a purple, but I wanted to make this very I said I would make this very specific picture, which was, like representing on a photograph. But now I had to create this photo perfect painting. I'd never done it before. And literally I went to Google and typed in, how do you mix color? And I found a tutorial online by a YouTube channel called Draw Mix Paint. And I just followed it step by step. And this is what I think is amazing, is that anything in life and business, you'll find something for it. And just, I guess the key with becoming good, and this is for anything, doesn't matter whether you're an artist or an engineer or working, putting on live stream events even, is that whenever there's a mistake, don't beat yourself up about it. The most important thing is to look at that mistake and look at it as a lesson, because the best lessons in life are often through the mistakes. Hopefully they're ones that we can recover up from, but always they teach us, and mistakes are the best teachers. So it's to not be too hard on yourself, because when you're learning, you're always, like, everyone who starts something new is going to be bad at it. There's no one that starts something that's amazing. There was a time when Beethoven was, making his, concertos, and, who sucked when he started. He was terrible. And I was terrible when I started painting. When, people that are like famous soccer players, there was a time when they didn't know how to kick a football. And this is the thing, is we all have to start at the beginning and give yourself permission to make a few mistakes.
Okay, that's amazing. And I know you're currently working on a project. I don't know if you would like to talk a little bit more about that huge project that's coming up.
Absolutely. Oh, it's so exciting. So every year I like to do something big. For me, it's not just about making, just pictures of space. We're actually working with the European Space Agency with the Gaia mission data. So Gaia is a satellite that is orbiting. It's not orbiting necessarily around the Earth, but along with the Earth, around the sun. And it's taking very detailed images of the Milky Way galaxy. Because when we see the Milky Way galaxy, obviously, it's like a thin strip in the night sky. However, with Gaia, what they're doing is parallax mapping. So, you know, when you put your finger out and you close one eye and you have one eye open at a time and you see your finger move relative to the background. Now that effect is called a parallax. So what they're doing is they're doing that, but with all the stars in the night sky. Isn't that amazing? And they can measure the difference in parallax, very, very, very tiny movements, but they got enough to then place them in 3D space. So what they're doing is building a map of the Milky Way galaxy in 3D. It's amazing. And what we're doing is taking that data and we are crunching it down, because every time you and I see a picture of the Milky Way, not side on, but top on, so you see the full disk, that is an artistic representation. It's not real. It's fake, right? Based on good assumptions, some research, some data, but regardless, it's not real. What they're trying to do is make a real 3D representation of the Milky Way, the first time it has ever been seen like this. It is incredible. Now, so far, they have mapped billions and billions of stars. Of course, we've got 400 plus or minus 100 billion stars in the Milky Way. So there's a lot more stars. And of course, some of the stars block stars further back, and there is also dust and gas that gets in the way. But they're using all of this different data to pull together information. So what they do is they take, if this is the sun and this is a satellite, they will take a photo of the Milky Way on this side, and then they will wait until the satellite orbits and is on the other side, and they'll take more photos. And then they'll compare the two and build this massive structure. Now, what we're doing with it is we are crunching all of that data into a volumetric map. So, you know, when you see like a weather report and you see where things are like raining or not raining, or where areas are hot or cold, and you have these different like areas, a volumetric map is like that, but in 3D. So what we're doing is saying, these are all the areas with stars, and these are the densest, most compact areas. And these areas have not much in them. So they are, you know, not dense. What's the opposite of density? Anyway, his brain's just gone. So they're creating this. And then we put it through a fractal generating AI. We've created an algorithm that converts this volumetric data into a 3D structure that looks halfway between a snowflake and an atom, if you can imagine that. And it's suspended from tens of thousands of fiber optic cables. The structures are printed in a crystal clear resin, so it's fully transparent. And they look stunning when hung together. And the most important thing about it is it's going to be 8 meters in diameter. It's huge. The height of an average 2-story house is about 6 meters. So higher than a normal 2-story building, almost like a 3-story building high. That's how wide it's going to be. It's amazing. And of course, it's going to be held up by a big structure, which, you know, I've got some mechanical engineering, so I'm glad it's coming in useful for something. But the idea is that once we've built it, we are going to give it away for free to a scientific institute or a museum or a gallery. We're going to put it somewhere where everyone can enjoy it. You're going to be able to lie underneath it and look up into the Milky Way and experience the Milky Way in reality. In 3D, it's going to be sensational. My friend said something the other day, which I thought was so interesting, was that every time you go into a natural history museum, doesn't matter where you are in the world, there's always a giant dinosaur. Now, I like dinosaurs, but how much better would it be if it was a gigantic Milky Way galaxy instead? How much more inspiring? The reason why these things are important is because a single image can create such huge, vast differences. If you ask anybody that's into space, they'll almost always say, hey, you know, I went out and I saw the stars and it it struck me, or I saw this documentary and there was a moment and it just inspired me. My brother, who is 8 years older than me, had a magazine many, many years ago when he was a child. And back when we did magazines, do you remember that? When we did printed stuff and not just digital? Right? And on that magazine,
that age.
right. Go back a little bit. But on that was a picture of a vase. And the vase was beautiful, and it was made of glass, and it had all this like light pouring through it. But underneath it said, this is generated in 3D. It's not real, it's rendered. And he was amazed. It was just a little picture, one picture in a little magazine. But he was so fascinated. He was like, how can this not be real? Like, how is this not real? He then went on to learn how to create 3D models because he needed to understand. And that wasn't enough. So he then looked and learned how to make shader technology and then rendering. Then he learned how to make his own, code his own shaders. And then he learned how to code. Now, today, 20 years on from seeing that picture, he's a chief technical officer at a company that's making virtual reality software that helps doctors improve their skills. And their company will have saved the lives of billions of people across the globe by upskilling doctors. How amazing is that? And that was inspired from a single picture of a vase in a magazine when he was a kid. Isn't that incredible? It doesn't have to be when you're a kid, but there are moments in your life when you see something and you go, whoa, this sticks in your memory. And I want to create that for people because, the future of humans really depends on how well we get into space. Firstly, looking after our own planet and making sure that we look after what we have here. But there's a point when we're going to run out of space. There's a point when we're going to run out of resources. And there's a point where potentially we might have a gigantic asteroid hit Earth. Hopefully not soon. But it's happened in the past and it's likely to happen in the future. And what is our insurance policy? We need to make sure that humans are habitating places like the moon and Mars and so on. We need to have people all over. And, we are starting along that journey. But in order to really fulfill that mission, we need more people inspired by space, that are excited by space. Who knows? It might be one day that, I hope, fingers crossed, if just one person looks at a picture of space and says, wow, that's really amazing, and they go on to be an engineer and help with the future of humanity, I feel like I've done my job.
I think you have done your job, but we hope you continue with that because I'm telling you, I know there's so many people that admire you, and it's through your art that it makes it so simple, so achievable. It stops being something that I need to have a lot of understanding, and I can just enjoy it and start from there. Cathrin, you were mentioning that there are some moments in life, like an oh moment or a moment that just hits you so hard that you decide this is what I want to do. What was your moment? What was the moment that you were like, oh my gosh, I just love everything that's in the outer space?
Oh, I'm so excited about this. I shared this with you earlier, but so when I was 7, the first time I saw space, I was just captured by it. I was standing in the backyard with my dad, who unfortunately has recently passed away. And I saw the moon. We were meant to see the Perseid meteor shower, but of course, there's too much light pollution here to see anything. But I took these binoculars and I looked at the moon, and it's amazing because I found these a few days ago because I had to fly back home to be with my family. But I thought that these were lost forever, and I'm so happy that I found them. But yeah, it was that moment. Just a simple moment looking up at the stars, and I saw the moon and I saw all the craters, and it was kind of funny because those binoculars are very heavy, and as a kid I hit myself and I gave myself 2 gigantic big black eyes, but it wasn't enough to put me off. I was still pretty into the moment. Obviously it didn't put me off space, but certainly made it memorable. But yeah, I saw the moon, I saw the craters. It's amazing. Like, I mean, we see the moon in the sky, you know, all the time. And but when you see it up close, and especially when you see it with your own eyes, you know, the beauty of that is it's real photons from the sun. They've traveled all the way to the moon and then bounced off the moon and come into your eyeballs. Right at that moment, you are very connected with that. You know, the photons that touch your eyeballs are the same photons that touch the surface of the moon. And, you know, I think that's amazing.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I know that was a special moment, and thank you for letting us be part of your heart and your story.
Thank you.
We have one question that someone had posted earlier this week, and it was, Kat, what is the favorite part of your job? What is the part of your job that you enjoy the most?
Signing the painting. When it's done. I don't know. The whole thing is a lot of fun. I love lots of different aspects of it. So one of the things that I love doing is inventing things. So we invented different printing solutions. One of the things I love is glow in the dark. Did you ever have the glow in the dark ceiling stars, Sandra? Yes. Woo. I love those. And I don't know why as adults we don't have them, because honestly, they are like the coolest thing ever. So one of the things we developed was like these ceiling murals that are like, but taken from accurate data from the Milky Way, naturally, a full scientific representation of the Milky Way, printed in multiple colors of glow that you can, and it's like you can apply it. So it's like glow in the dark ceiling stars, but for adults. And I love inventing stuff like that. I just think it's so much fun. So definitely, I love the inventing side. I love running a team. Whilst I don't want to run a studio with 600 people making a video game, because that is stressful, I would love to run, you know, I love running my team. I have 9 people that I work with, and we all work together to help promote space and talk about science. And most importantly, I really want to get more people into space business. I want people to take on the journey of making this their lives, because for me, there's nothing more powerful than having entrepreneurs creating a life for themselves, doing the thing they love. Because of course, it's all well and good as a hobby, and I do think it's important to have hobbyists. But if you know the amount of time I was spending promoting space when I was doing it 4 hours, every weekend, versus now when I do it every hour of the day because I love it, wouldn't want to do anything else. I get to do so much more. I get to express so much more. Right now, we need more people doing this. People often ask me, is there room for me to do this? And I'm honestly, there is room for thousands, tens of thousands. If more people wanted to do exactly what I'm doing or something similar, I'd be so thrilled, because right now we need more people getting the message of space out there. Maybe we can inspire more people to take up astronomy, astrophysics, science, and engineering. Yeah.
Kat, I know like a lot of people are like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I think after just like listening to you, anyone right now feels like, okay, I'm doing it, but where do I start?
Right.
Do you have like any tips from entrepreneurs that say, okay, I want to get into business, do this as a financial source as well, because it's my hobby, but I also need to make a living? What advice would you have for them?
Okay, so first off is don't worry about necessarily doing the right thing. Generally, my opinion is pick the first thing that comes to mind. And generally, that first thing is usually the thing that you love between the ages of 5 and 10. And it's the thing that when you daydream, when you go to that place and you're like, oh, God, that'd be really cool if I was doing that, go to that place. And if that's something that recurs for you, that's the thing you should choose. But if you're not entirely sure, don't worry, just pick something. If you know where you're at right now is not right, you know where you're at is wrong. So it's got to be somewhere else. And I tried lots of things. I started as a cleaner. That was definitely not for me, but I wouldn't have been able to say that for sure until I did it. After I did it, I could say full stop, definitely not for me, right? But it took me a little bit to figure it out. The second thing is really to hang up any worries about what people think. You know, we spend our whole lives worrying about whether people will think that what we're doing is a good idea, or not so much a good idea, but, you know, judgment from others. It's really important to just follow your heart, just really see what you love, you know. And if it is that you love dinosaurs and you want more dinosaurs in museums, I have a friend that loves it, for instance, you know, just start. So the first place is to start creating a social media presence, build an audience. You don't have to sell something. You don't have to have a product to be able to talk passionately about something. Now, I know that for a lot of people, getting in front of a camera and talking is terrifying. I get it. But you know what? It's terrifying for everyone when they start. It only gets, in fact, actually, I would say that it's not that it's terrifying, it's just unfamiliar. Building an audience, talking to people, sharing your passion is unfamiliar, you know, but the only way to make it familiar and comfortable is by doing it. So my boyfriend Ian has his favorite quote, and it's, you know, if you're scared of doing something, fine, do it scared, right? So that's okay. So firstly, decide that you're going to make the change. Decide that where you're at is not good enough. You're not happy, you're not fulfilled, you don't even know why you're doing this, and certainly you don't want this to be for the rest of your life. And just take the moment to accept that no one is going to come knock on your front door and go, here's your dream life, because it's never going to happen. You have to decide to make that change for yourself. So that's number one, is just decide firstly that you're going to do it and what you would like to try first. And here's the thing, if it doesn't work out, no trouble, it's fine. You know, if it doesn't work out, just try something else. It's super simple. It's not like you only get one shot at it. You know, most people that do what I'm doing have tried many, many different things, 50, 100, 1,000 things. Just keep on trying until you find the thing that you're like, yeah, I kind of like this. And when people say, oh, when will I know if I like it? You just know. If you're asking the question, do I really like this? Probably not, right? And that's fine, you know. So the second thing is, of course, build up an audience. Talk passionately about what you love. You don't always have to understand how to commercialize it. You know, your thing might be going hiking and you love the stars. And it might not be until you build an audience of people that eventually you can have a sightseeing tour to go and see the stars. But what happens is, you get these moments of inspiration. Once you write down, and I certainly recommend writing down the goal, you know, I want to be a successful entrepreneur in space, or I want to, you know, and I'm going to make a change. What happens is, the way the subconscious mind works is amazing. It's always working. Have you ever had a moment when you've been at a party and then the next day you're having a shower and you go, oh, what was that person's name? I can't remember the name. And then like 5 hours later, you know, you're in the kitchen or you're driving along and the name was Ian. It was Ian. That was his name. Amazing, right? Well, that's how your subconscious mind works. It never turns off. You set it with a task. I need to find this person's name. And your mind in the background is working 24 hours a day, trying to search for the correct connection. And then eventually, bam, it happens. Usually way too late. But in the instance of finding out what you want, it works really well. So if you every day, and you must make sure it's in the front of your mind, every day you say, okay, I want to commercialize doing X, Y, and Z, something that I love doing. I love painting, or I love hiking, or I love the stars, or I just really like, you know, looking, you know, engineering things, or I really like mathematics, or whatever it is. I want to make it into a business. What will happen is, over the course of days or weeks, you'll have these moments. Oh, I could do this. I could do that. But you have to keep it in the back of your mind. Your brain has you are literally the most incredible, amazing, you have all of these incredible, amazing abilities to come up with ideas, to come up with things that could really change your lives. The key is not to ignore them, because we have all had moments in our lives where we have dreams of doing something bigger and better than what we're doing. And what do we normally do? We go, oh no, I can't do that. Oh, that would be really amazing. Oh no, that's not for me. Oh, I would love to do this. Oh no, I can't do it. We put all of these roadblocks. And here's the thing, even if you don't know how to do it, because I didn't know how to paint, I didn't know how to run an art business, I certainly didn't know how to paint space, I didn't know how to do any of this stuff. But you don't need to, like, this idea that you have to have all your ducks in the line before you start is wrong. You will never be ready. You might as well just start and work it out along the way. Of course, just try to make certain decisions that aren't going to impact you. Don't stride down to your boss and go, I quit straight away, because you have to have some direction, of course, right? But use your subconscious mind. Honestly, it is absolutely amazing. And right now you have the ability to sell online for free. You can, you have ability to build an audience and talk for free. Never in human history have you had this many opportunities. Right now, if you have a computer or a smart device and an internet connection, you can literally be anywhere in the world and create almost any product in the world and sell it to anyone in the world, whether it's a service or, doing something nice, like putting on an amazing space convention. We have all of these abilities thanks to the internet. There has never been a better time than now to do it. I really implore people to just take the moment to daydream and think about what they do want. But those would be my first steps, I think. Hopefully that helps.
That was so helpful. I was like trying to keep mental notes, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna like rewatch the whole video because it's gonna be in YouTube later, and I'm like, I'll need it. So thank you. Okay, talking about like being on social media and being present, where can we find you? Like, if I want to go and look at your work, and if I want to go and say, okay, I really need a masterpiece from Kat, where can I get it?
So if you just type in Cathrin Machin into any platform, at Cathrin Machin is my Instagram, my Twitter, my TikTok, all the others, Facebook. Just do that, or just type it into Google and you'll find it. In fact, I'm pretty sure if you just type in space art, you'll find it. So, but most of my stuff's on Instagram, and I've got some really great videos on TikTok if you're around there.
Yeah, I've been following you on Instagram, and I was telling you earlier, but I cannot stop telling it. It's just like anytime I'm stressed, I go through like your social media profiles, and I just get like, okay, this is so relaxing. Like watching you like draw, paint, it's just so relaxing. So thank you so much for inspiring so many people. And thank you for taking the time to share with us. I know you're currently in the UK, so thank you for like taking so much time this week to prepare and come. We really hope that in the near future we can have you in Paraguay or in South America.
Yes, I was meant to be in Chile right now for the eclipse, but of course we can't travel. So,
well, hopefully next year or in the near future.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Thank you so much, Cathrin, and we hope to see you around.
Thanks, guys. See you.
See you.
Desde Aeroterra, entendemos que es un dilema del siglo XXI. Estamos capturando un número inconmensurable de imágenes de la Tierra, pero por otro lado darle sentido a tantos datos se volvió abrumador. Al utilizar un dron para el departamento de bomberos, o procesando imágenes satelitales de todo el país para una agencia federal, quizás te preguntes, ¿cómo recolectamos, administramos, preparamos, accedemos y analizamos todos estos datos de forma eficiente? La respuesta a esto es ArcGIS, la tecnología más avanzada para convertir rápidamente grandes cantidades de imágenes y datos obtenidos por teledetección en información.